This week, I've listened to 15 plus hours of podcasts. That doesn't mean that I'm just sitting down and listening to that. A lot of times it's playing in the background, or I have an earbud in while I'm doing something else, working out, or maybe doing some tasks that don't require my full attention. But the great thing about podcasts and interviews is that you can really get inside the mind of these individuals, which I love. You're going to get to see how they tick. You're going to get to see how they come to the conclusions. Now, they may not always say it like that, but the longer you listen to someone dialogue, you're going to understand who they are a little bit better. Most problems in life are not solved by one-off solutions or one-off actions, but if you can extract the principle that they use to fix that issue, it can probably help you solve other issues in your life because the principles that they use will be adaptable to other situations. There are three different buckets of consuming information. You have general knowledge, you have specific knowledge, and then you have entertainment. I prefer to listen to entertainment around business, maybe documentaries, things like that. But when it comes to business information, general knowledge is really great for getting a broad understanding. So for instance, when I came to Colorado, I was listening to some general knowledge about the type of things I was going to be doing, sales processes, and trying to just get a baseline of information. Once I was comfortable with that baseline of information, then I started listening to stuff that was very specific to what I wanted to learn. Maybe that was about building out my CRM or sales process or anything else that was pertinent to what I was doing. General information is also great entertainment for me. So a lot of times I'll listen to general business information just because it's interesting. I love speaking and writing. So I love listening to people who are very articulate and passionate about what they're talking about. I love to ponder things. I love to, regurgitate that information over and over in my mind. It's actually a form of meditation. And so sometimes when I have a disagreement with someone or we just have a different view or a different perspective on something, I really think about that kind of stuff for a long time because I want to be knowledgeable. I want to be right, not for being right, but to be on the right path. And so a lot of times if I'm having a conversation with my significant other and we disagree, I really think about it for a long time. I don't like to try to make a quick decision. I like to ponder on it and make sure that I'm really seeing it from all the different angles and coming up with the best solution. I definitely consume more podcasts than I do books because I love to listen to things when I'm on the go. And then also being dyslexic, it's just easier for me to consume audio. I consume things on both sides of the aisle. When it comes to political stuff. I really enjoy political commentary and global issues. But one of the great things about podcasts is you get to hear a little bit more detail than you would get to hear on a news station or something like that. Business-wise, you're not going to really hear too many opposing views. You might get people who have different perspectives, but at the end of the day, people are just looking to make money. So I guess there are different approaches to that. But if you're not looking to make money, it's just a hobby. And I don't read a lot of books about my hobbies. One of the great things about when you have really high-level individuals talking about business, and you have, the Jeff Bezoses of the world, you have Elon, just all these different high-level people who do business really well. Even if it's not even the real famous people, it could just be the founder of this startup who runs a multi-million-dollar business, which is obviously pretty impressive as well. You get to hear how they think. As I mentioned earlier, the more someone talks, the more you can really get inside their mind and understand more about who they are and how they got to the success they're at. Historically, you would just hear a little, couple minute snippet on a news station that was kind of pre-rehearsed, but it's hard to rehearse a 2-hour interview or even an hour interview. So I love podcasts and I love what it brings to our society. Here are my favorite podcasts. To start off, Alex Hormozi. His podcasts technically are a little bit more chopped up and are not my favorite in the sense of his YouTube content, I think is a little bit better, but his overall content is second to none. And if you were just going to listen to one person in the business space, Alex Hormozi, hands down, is going to have the best information. Modern Wisdom. This is a great podcast. It kind of covers a lot of different information. He's been doing a little bit more business information, but he also does philosophy, he does health. And the great thing about it, as it says in the title, it just really digs into just being wise and being smart about things. And I love his interest and his curiosity, and he's just a fantastic host as well. Lex Freeman. Lex is great. He's just such a kind, caring person, but also just very intellectually smart, and he brings in really good guests. He is in an arena that I know very little about, in the sense that I'm not a computer engineer, and he is a computer engineer. He also specializes in robotics. He's literally a genius, but it's really interesting to hear him talk about some of these things. Sometimes it just goes right over my head, but there's also a lot of information that I'm able to glean on the edges that makes me just a smarter person. Joe Rogan is fantastic. He'll have everyone from his comic buddies to intellectual people to scientists. You never know if you're going to get an episode with a doctor who's going to be really insightful, or a politician, or if Snoop Dogg's going to be on there smoking a bunch of joints. But regardless, it's fun to listen to. The Portal with Eric Weinstein. Eric Weinstein is one of my favorite people to listen to. He's a very interesting person. Again, very smart, IQ super high. He's got a degree in statistics, and he's a mathematician and a physicist, a lot smarter than I am. But I love how he thinks around issues and how he frames issues. And he doesn't do a lot of interviews, and I think he's stopped doing new episodes, but it's definitely worth going back and listening to the old episodes and the information that he has out. The All In Podcast. Now, this is fantastic because you get a little bit of tech and a little bit of business and a little bit of politics. So these are four guys that are best friends, and they've all been super successful in the business space, and they worked in the technology industry, and now they're starting to dabble in different things. Some of them are getting into politics and different things like that. So it's a podcast that comes out once a week, and it always leaves me wanting a little bit more information. And so that's a sign of a good podcast. And so I really, really enjoy that and would recommend it. The Pivot. This is a good podcast. It has two individuals who are openly on the left side of things. And so it's interesting to hear how they process information. They both have a background in technology, and one of them has a background in business as well. So you have a journalist with a business person, and they break down politics and business and kind of where they overlap a little bit. And so very good podcast, and I'd recommend it as well. These are some of my favorite podcasts. Let me know in the comments what some of your favorites are.